Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the At the Pylon podcast. Alongside Chandler Betts, my name is Nick Antonakas. Chandler, how are you doing tonight?
Doing pretty well. School's winding down for both of us. Getting ready for break. Can actually get some sleeping in. It'll be nice.
It's been a stumble, Chandler, through
Yes, it
finals for both
has.
of us. Um, I'm almost done too. Today was your last final,
I
right?
just finished it.
And I have one more project due Monday that I'm going to finish tonight. So that'll be good. We'll be back and we'll be putting more focus on this. Expect some developments from the At the Pylon podcast during the break.
Ooh,
Just a hint there, but
yeah.
we're gonna look to further to expand the At the Pylon name. But regardless, we got a lot of Patriots news to talk about. It's been a bit since we've done an episode, Chandler.
Yeah.
Last Friday we did one for the post game reaction for Patriots versus Steelers on Thursday Night Football. Not another game until this Sunday. Pats flexed at a primetime, obviously, facing Austin against the Kansas City Chiefs. But once again, the big news coming out of this past week, Chandler, is Bill Belichick. Again, Tom Curran expanding on reports that he made earlier in the year this past week. He's suggesting that this whole Bill Belichick ordeal is done. It's finished. His future is locked and he's out the door. That's what he's trying to say. It's been supposedly that's been the circumstance ever since the Colts game, is when Robert Kraft supposedly decided that Belichick is going to be casted out after this year. I guess, Chandler, why don't we start off with your initial thoughts of this? I feel like you always kind of thought that Belichick was, I forget the terminology for it, not a sitting duck,
A lame duck.
lame duck.
Yep. He's been a lame
So, I
duck
mean, it
head
might be, it
coach.
might be that
Yeah.
you're proved right here with these reports.
Even more so because I did say I recall that he was a lame duck after the Colts game. That was officially the point that
Yeah.
I decided that. And I think that it's pretty cut and dry. He's going to be gone. Now, what I'm very interested in was a lot of people were claiming outside of the payout reasons that the reason to not fire him would be to trade him, to try to get some kind of assets for him, trade him to a team that wants him, be that the Chargers, be that the Commanders, be that I think the Giants are finally figuring it out. Um, that would have been a silly decision in my opinion, anyways, considering Dayball was the coach of the year last year, and there were rumors about them already wanting to get rid of him. Quite the knee-jerk decision, but I am curious to see how these reports are going to factor into the idea of getting something back for Belichick, or whether that will be possible or not anymore. That's something I don't really know.
Yeah, I don't really know either, honestly. And honestly, Chandler, as time goes on, at least since that Colts game where we thought it was Armageddon in New England, I felt like Belichick's job has been getting more and more comfortable week after week. It seems like, all right, everybody in the fan base, everybody behind the scenes seems to finally be establishing that Belichick isn't the number one problem with this team, at least on the coaching side of things.
Yes, that's the key.
But regardless, it seems that with these recent reports coming up, there's a whole new turmoil to everything that happened these past couple weeks. Belichick, once again, he was thrilled after he got the win last week against Pittsburgh. The first thing that came to my mind after these reports came out was, is he like in a mental warfare battle right now with Robert Kraft? He's like, all right, you want me out? I'm going to win out and get you the worst pick possible and flip you off on my way out the door. That's really what I hope isn't happening. Part of me, honestly, is starting to contemplate whether or not Curran is right. Honestly, part of me thinks that he's wrong because ever since he initially announced this report, he's been drilled with questions like, look, Tom, what do you think? Like, is it set in stone who's going to be taking over? How are they going to go about it? Yada yada yada. And he's sort of just like not backtracked, but like calmed the masses a little bit. He's like, look, this is a report. Nothing set in stone. Even Julian Edelman said this past week, I forget what podcast he was on, but he said, I don't care about the reports. Nobody knows what's happening besides Robert Kraft, Jonathan Kraft, and Bill Belichick. And it's all going to come down to a conversation that they have at the end of the year. That mixed with the fact that all these Patriots players have been furthering their support for Bill Belichick week after week, especially Matthew Slater, longtime Patriot, superstar special teamer for New England, has been voicing his own for Bill Belichick over these past couple weeks. And in addition to that, Chandler, I'll throw this at you. It seems like the fan base, too, is also starting to turn the tides on Belichick. They're like, all right, he's not maybe that big of a problem as we thought. General manager stuff aside, he's a good coach. Maybe we don't get rid of him. And I feel like that's kind of been the developments right up to when these reports came out.
Yeah, I don't think that our opinions of Belichick as a coach have been super negatively affected by this year. It's more so a culmination of all of his asset management and all of the aspects of the GM role which he fills. This is what happens when you are one of the greatest, not one of the greatest, the greatest coach of all time. And probably when you think about it, he has to be considered the greatest GM of all time as well, being the GM of 6 Super Bowl teams and the best dynasty in maybe sports history. Um,
Well, wait,
you
when did he
see,
become the GM? He hasn't been the
he's
GM his whole career.
yes, he has.
He has?
That was a big sticking point why he left the Jets, I believe, because he wasn't going to get full control. Why he
Oh,
left
I
the
didn't
Jets
know that.
immediately. Correct
You
me if
keep
I'm
talking. I'm
wrong.
gonna I'm
Yeah,
gonna
while I
fact
go on
check
this
it.
rant, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think I am, but maybe I am. But this is what happens when you are so successful in so many aspects of your career and you have a little bit of success after a really bad run. People are going to get Stockholm syndrome and thinking, it's really not that bad. We'll figure it out. He's still the greatest. No, let's not forget that we scored 7 points in 2 games. We still just came off the run of doing something that hadn't happened since 1938 in the 10 or less points and still losing 3 games. This team, the fan base should not be reneging on their idea that we should be getting rid of Belichick. Belichick should not be the coach next year because that means that he shouldn't be the GM next year. And the fan base is going to turn naturally because Belichick's goal is always going to be to win. He's not going to have the broad scope image of wanting to lose games intentionally to get us a good pick. That doesn't benefit him. That doesn't benefit his legacy. That doesn't make sense for really any coach to do unless you're getting paid $100,000 to do that by the Miami Dolphins owner, allegedly. Um,
Yeah,
a
but you were
little
right.
crush out there,
You were right. Belichick's been the GM his entire time
yeah. Yeah,
in New England.
because that was the whole
That's actually
reason that
kind
he
of
left.
surprising to me because I feel like I wasn't really, I guess, wary of that until the Jimmy G trade. And I was like, all right, that's interesting. And then from that point on, it seems like decisions were getting worse and worse. So it was like, oh, in my mind at least, I was like, oh, he took on the role in 2015 or whatever. His first big move was trading Jimmy G. And then from there, it went downhill because he doesn't know how to be a GM. That's wrong because he's been the GM the whole time.
Yep.
So that's pretty interesting. But
Yeah.
regardless, on the head coaching side of things, right now, the top, I guess, replacement at hand, I guess, for Bill Belichick is Gerard Mayo. He was asked this past week in interviews after practice regarding that potential position, like if he's going to take over the Patriots, whatever. He was very low key about it. I want to be a head coach, yada, yada, yada. I'd love to do it here. I love the Patriots, blah, blah, blah. But obviously, no real answers from that. This was something that we talked about earlier in the season, Chandler, when these whole Bill Belichick to the Washington Commanders trade things started to develop. Do you think that Mayo is really the number one replacement for Belichick?
I think he is, and I haven't wavered in my opinion that I'm not especially excited by that. And now I get that it's a common thing in coaching right now that you want that super genius offensive play caller who's going to lead you to the Super Bowl. You want the next Sean McVay. Anyone who's ever given Sean McVay a high five gets a good opportunity at getting a head coaching job. Be that Kevin O'Connell, be that Zach Taylor, be that I'm sure other people that are slipping my mind right now. Say a similar thing with Shanahan being in Mike McDaniel and in D'Amico Ryan's people along those trees. You want to get people who have worked with those who've had success. And Mayo has worked with Belichick, and Belichick has obviously had success. Um, it's a common thing right now that people think that you need the offensive play caller to be the head coach to spur on in our very offensive based NFL right now. And as much as I'd like to generally go against trends, I think that this is actually an important thing for the Patriots after being so offensively inept for so long, really for the last 2 years, that you need that kind of change. And you're not going to get a top quality play caller if you're not also attaching the head coaching job with that.
Yeah, and I guess to transition out of this whole Belichick point, most of us are in agreement that Bill Belichick is a great coach. His general manager moves have always been questionable. One of which came out earlier last week. Malik Cunningham claimed off the Patriots practice squad. He's heading to the Baltimore Ravens to reunite with Louisville teammate Lamar Jackson. Initial thoughts on this, Chandler. When I saw this, I was just like, oh, great. I mean, out of all the things that had to happen this week heading into this game against the Chiefs, we really saw Malik Cunningham get moved on because the fact of the matter is going against a tough opponent like the Chiefs could very much mean the end of days for Bailey Zappi if he plays really bad. So I was hoping maybe after this week that we could see Malik Cunningham shift in the lineup, but he is long gone. He's in Baltimore, Chandler.
Yeah, it's interesting. Excuse me. It's very interesting. Um, Tyler Huntley, who is their normal backup, has missed practice this week. So it makes sense they want to get a quarterback of a similar play style, being that quarterback that can be mobile, that can probably throw the ball a little bit. Um, if he gets in, selfishly, I hope he doesn't get in because I have Lamar as my fantasy quarterback. But if he does get in, I'm sure he'll be serviceable enough. I mean, Tyler Huntley was a Pro Bowl alternate quarterback when he played 5 games. Malik Cunningham can probably be pretty good in that offense as well. He could have been good with us, but God forbid we play people with high ceilings and not also low floors. Like every player that we put in stinks and can't be good in the future. At least Malik Cunningham could have been good in the future, even if he stunk.
Yeah, that was my main reason for wanting to see him play Chandler, just because he had some sort of leverage and potential over guys like Bailey Zappi and supposedly even Mac Jones at this rate. It's kind of hard to see either of those guys succeeding in the Patriot system from now on. So I wanted to see Cunningham. Regardless, that's not going to happen. He's gone. And it's seeming like it's happening at the perfect time as the Patriots are faced off against one of the top teams in the NFL this week, the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, Chandler, heading into this game against the Chiefs, they're coming off a huge loss against the Buffalo Bills. It's been the talk of the town ever since the game ended. Whole, I guess, referee controversy. Was it Pradell
Shouldn't
Tony
have
who was
been.
called offside?
Yeah,
Yeah, it really.
Kadarius Tony shouldn't
Yeah,
have been.
Kadarius
He was
Tony.
the actual statement from the referee, from the NFL refereeing commission was something like, you actually like the big complaint for those of us who didn't see the game was Kadarius Tony lining up offside during a
Clearly
key
offside, by
play.
the way.
Yes,
Clearly
during
offside.
yeah, during a key play where Travis Kelce threw a lateral to, it might have been to Tony, it was to
Yeah,
somebody,
I think it was.
for a big gain. I think it might have even been a
It was a
touchdown.
touchdown. It was the
Yeah, it
game tying
was,
touchdown.
yes, and it was called back because of Kadarius Tony being offsides. He was so clearly offsides, and the actual statement was that they don't have to, like, people were complaining that he didn't, like, if you check with the referees, they have to tell you if you're good or not in terms of being onside offside. They don't have to do that actually, and the statement was literally saying, especially when the player is blocking our line to the ball. The referees literally couldn't see the ball because of how far offsides he was. It's just so silly. And then a lot of people, I wouldn't go as far to say myself yet, um, I'll give some leniency in such a high emotions game. A lot of people have lost a lot of respect for Patrick Mahomes after how he handled the after the game talk with Josh Allen immediately after, how he was immediately complaining about that one play rather than being like, good game, good luck with the rest of your season. A lot of respect lost for Mahomes, a lot of respect lost for the whole Chiefs organization at that point, based on how much emphasis they've put on referees calling the game correctly when even dating back to week 1 when Orlando Brown, I think it was Orlando Brown, was doing the false start every single play, trying to get his cadence to because he was horrified of Aiden Hutchinson for the Lions. The Chiefs have gotten away with so many play calls and there's so many refereeing mistakes over the past few years. As really, when you look back at it, any team that wins gets away with this kind of stuff.
Of course.
But to be complaining at such a high clip has really turned a lot of the league against the Chiefs, and that might make them even more dangerous this week.
Yeah, and I think one of the main things coming out of this was a lot of the vocality from the Chiefs side of things was we're a good team in this league. You want to see teams like us win. You can't be like throwing out games like that. And I was just like, whoa, 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 hold on. That just
Yeah,
totally goes against the whole morality, I guess,
yeah,
that the NFL is trying to portray. First off, teams like the Chiefs have been on the right side of calls many times over these past couple years. Like
yes,
you said, Chandler. I mean, the second that this happened, Patriots fans were pulling the N'Keal Harry touchdown from 2019 out
yep,
of their pockets. And I remember that day clearly, and there was no complaining from Brady and staff on that. Brady was like, sometimes the refs get it right, sometimes they get it wrong. They got it wrong today, and it is what it is. Meanwhile, Patrick Mahomes, on a much more, I guess, clear penalty, has been absolutely ecstatic over these past couple days. Do I think
yep,
that it's fair to just totally turn on the Chiefs in 1 week? No. I mean, did I ever like the Chiefs? No. So I don't really understand like the perspective of somebody going from liking the Chiefs to not liking them.
sure.
But it just seems a little bit like drastic to just go from a quick, oh, go Chiefs to wow, you made one angry call and we're done with you now. So it's just, and like you said, it might add a lot of fuel to the fire this week against New England.
Yeah, I mean they're also coming off a two-game losing streak against the Packers and the Bills. It's crazy that 8-5. I think yeah, they're 8-5.
Yep.
Has them at what second in the AFC still,
Isn't that
which is
crazy?
wild just because of how tight the pack is. I
If
mean,
only we were, decent, we might have been in a playoff position right now. Look
literally,
at the
yeah.
wild card. It's the Browns, the Steelers,
I
um,
think every single team except us
the Colts.
and the Titans. And is that it? Literally, is that it in the
Titans, I
AFC
think, are
that
still in
aren't?
it now, thanks to their win against
Well,
Miami.
they're still in it, but they are pretty deep in a losing record also. Being
Yeah.
what 4 and or maybe they're 5 now. I don't
Yeah,
know.
5-8, I'm pretty sure.
5-8,
I'll
yeah.
check, but yeah.
But yeah, this it feels kind of disingenuous to call this Kansas City team one of the best teams in football right now. As weird as that is to say, they haven't really looked very good this year. The only actually convincing, really good win they had this whole year was against the Bears when they won 41-10. But other than that, they lost the first game of the season to the Lions. The Lions have proved to be good, but regardless, not a great win against the Jags. Only a 3-point win against the Jets when they actually stunk. Um, a 7-point win against the Vikings when they stunk. Barely a win against the Broncos. Chargers win, lost to the Broncos. Barely beat Miami, lost to the Eagles. Raiders stink, doesn't matter, and then lose 2 games in a row. I mean, this is not an incredibly dominant football team like we've seen in the past, but like I've talked about in the past, we are the get back team. We'll see how this week goes. This could be the game where they unleash and they get ready for the rest of the year because they're going against only backup quarterbacks for the rest of the year. It looks like because they have Zappy, Aiden O'Connell with the Raiders, Jake Browning for the Bengals, and Easton Stick for the Chargers.
Yeah, and I mean, with Taylor Swift in the building, Chandler also, it's going to be a spectacle on top of the football game itself.
Hey,
So,
the top 3 highest selling events in Gillette Stadium history were all Taylor Swift concerts.
wow, what an
Yeah.
L.
And then number 4 was the Army Navy game, which was last week.
Damn,
Interestingly enough.
great. Well, regardless, with Taylor Swift in the building, do you think, Chandler, with Bailey Zappi back in the lineup, obviously he's getting the nod again this week. Mac Jones seems to be far in the back of line. Um, in the, I guess, quarterback lineup. But Zappy's going in. Pop Douglas seems to be making a return to the lineup. Do the Patriots even have a shot in this one, Chandler?
I mean, with the Bills win, we've proven that we can win any game, which is a crazy thing to say because we are not good at football. There is definitely a shot. I don't think it's a good shot. I would assume that the line is probably going to be at least 6.5 going into the game. I haven't looked at it yet, but It's there is a shot. I don't think that we score more than 17 points though. So probably not.
Right now, Chandler, the spread is Chiefs are favored by 9.5.
Yeah.
37 points total is the over under.
A lot of faith in a lot of faith in the Patriots defense, justifiably so.
That's kind of crazy though. 37 points. What was it last week for the Steelers game? 30 what?
30, 30
30?
flat. Yeah, 30
Wow.
flat. And it was
And
broken
that
in the first half.
yeah, it was. And then we didn't see much offense in the second
Not
half.
much.
So,
Yeah.
but Chandler, before we move into our keys for this game, why don't we take a further look into the future? We're bringing back your rookie preview.
Oh yeah.
Who are you looking at this week?
Yeah, so we're going into bowl season for college football. The first bowl games are on Saturday, this upcoming Saturday. Very excited for that. Coinciding perfectly with me not having to do any schoolwork. So that's going to be very fun. But the person we're going to do, wide receiver, Malik Neighbors out of LSU. Now, he had a really good case to win the Bolitnikoff Award. Now, the Bolitnikoff Award is the award given to the best wide receiver in college football. It was given to Marvin Harrison Jr., who I think potentially won it just off of name. While I do think that he is the best wide receiver in this upcoming draft, I think that he is the best wide receiver in terms of pure talent in college football. He did not have great quarterback play, so his stats were a lot lower than Malik Neighbors. Marvin Harrison Jr., really good stats throughout the course of the year. 1,200 yards, 14 touchdowns, 67 receptions. Malik Neighbors, on the other hand, 86 receptions, 1,500 yards, 1546, 14 touchdowns. Absolutely dominant player. He had more games that he had over 150 yards than, or almost more games. He had 2 games where he had over 150 yards, and his low on the whole season was 67. He had 239 yards against Mississippi State. The big issue with him, yeah, he's unreal. He finished the season with 5 games in a row, all over 100 yards. He had 1, 2, 3,
Wow.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 out of 12 games this year where he had over 100 yards. He's an unreal talent.
Where is he projected?
So he's projected to be either wide receiver 2 or wide receiver 3 in this
Man,
upcoming draft.
you know what I just thought of?
What?
I really, really, if we get number 2, let's just say it's looking like we're gonna get 2. If we
Sure.
get 2 and then we slam like a second and like a third or a second and then a second next year for like another top 10 pick to land this guy.
Yeah, that's not how that works. That's not how that works.
Well, what you think a first next year?
Look at how well
Because this could
let's
revolutionize our team. Think about it.
let me give me a second. Let me finish Malik Neighbors, and then
Yeah,
I
yeah,
will give
yeah. Go
my
for it.
diatribe about
Yeah.
draft pick trades. But Malik Neighbors, 6'2", 205. That doesn't sound especially small. It's about the same size as actually. I'll just do this. It's the same size as my player comparison for him, Stephon Diggs.
Wow.
Stephon Diggs is about the same size as well. He's 6'2" or 195, I believe. So about 10 pounds lighter. But Malik Neighbors, really good hands, really good speed, especially over long distance. Is a talented route runner. My big issue with him is that they didn't have him run a really extensive route tree. I'd love to see him run some more intermediate routes between 8 and 17 yards. I'd love to see some more of that. But he was just so good at his release and the ability to manipulate the defense and find the soft spots in the defense, really a quarterback's best friend, that a lot of his production was just line shots that he would just burn the cornerback, torch the safety, and then be wide open for a really good catch. Another thing that's good about him, even though he's 6 foot and Marvin Harrison is 6'4", he is an incredible jump ball receiver. He has a really good eye for the ball, the ability to track it, which is sort of undervalued in wide receivers because you assume that every wide receiver can do that, but they can't. Malik Neighbors is very good at that, especially at his size. I do expect him. I haven't done my Rome Odunze full film breakdown yet, but I'm expecting Malik Neighbors to probably be a top 12 pick in this draft here. He's probably going to be the third or fourth non-quarterback weapon taken, because I do think that Brock Bowers would probably go ahead of him. And Doomsday and Neighbors are going to be neck and neck for that position, probably up until the combine.
Yeah, so hopefully the Patriots can bag a guy like Malik Neighbors, Chandler. I mean, as much as I think that trading up is a possibility, you seem to think otherwise. So why don't you walk me through your, I guess, analysis behind trading draft picks and exchanging draft picks?
Yeah, so it would be really tough to trade up. I'm not saying it's necessarily impossible, but going back to Jimmy Johnson, coach for the Cowboys, came up with this thing called the draft pick calculator, the draft pick value sheet. You can look it up on pretty much anything on Google. Let's look it up. I'll look it up right now. I'll do one in front of you guys. Draft pick calculator.
You know what I'm gonna do?
What?
This is at the pylon first.
Oh
What's it
yeah,
called?
a pick value calculator, a draft pick calculator. You gonna put it up on the screen?
Yeah, I'm gonna screen share.
Oh yeah, let's go. So those are all of our picks highlighted right there. The
God.
draft pick calculator, the value sheet, is based on the idea that the first overall pick is worth 3,000 points, and this is an arbitrary point system. But this is made to come up with the idea of trading picks and the value, therefore, of trading picks. Future picks are severely undervalued. I believe that a future pick is just considered around to be the 15th pick. Obviously, this situation is subjective to teams and GMs themselves. Some GMs value the future more, some value less, like a Les Snead of the Rams. But the idea of trading for a top 10 pick, which is probably what's your face is very confused. What are we looking at, Nick?
Is this year? I'm assuming.
Yes, this is this year, but the same idea goes for every year.
And the number is basically the value. Like as we can see here, 2,600 is the amount of weight that second overall pick holds in this draft.
Yes, so it would take to move up from 3 to 2 in this world. It would
You need
take
400 points.
exactly. So you need to trade a first and a second, and it can you pretty much need to trade a first and a second to trade up from 3 to 2.
Well, yeah.
So we've seen historically, this originally actually wasn't made to be like the all-seeing truth. This was just a guide for the Cowboys organization. But we've seen that it has definitely some real weight. The idea of trading up, where we would need to be trading up for being probably 34 to trade up to about a minimum of 12 to get one of these caliber of players. To the earlier trade that happened this past year was the Texans and the Cardinals. The Cardinals, of course, the Texans, of course, had the second pick, and they wanted the second and third pick to get C.J. Stroud and Will Anderson. They traded the third pick and a fourth round pick in that draft for the 12th pick in that draft, the second round pick in that draft, the next year first, and the next year third. That is a king's ransom. That is a really high mark there. And to do that, to get a player, to get one player when your team already kind of stinks, I think is a little bit irresponsible unless that player can be guaranteed to be like Marvin Harrison Jr. If you can do that to get 3, sure. If you're doing that to get 12, I think that's a very different story. We've seen this can backfire really strongly. It can also be really good, but it could also be really bad, frankly.
Yeah, so I guess in your shoes, if you were the Patriots and you had an opportunity to trade up to 12 to pick a guy like Malik Neighbors
Has to be
alongside
the right
Drake May.
trade. Has to be the right trade.
So I guess theoretically, what would it be? What would the right trade be?
I think that it would be nice if the trade could involve a player, because that kind of starts to negate that a little bit.
Yeah.
But if you're trading up for a player like Malik Neighbors, it has to be with the right partner. It has to be with a team that is not really looking for a super talented wide receiver, which frankly isn't a lot of teams. Pretty much everybody could use a player like Malik Neighbors. He's incredible.
Well,
He's
it's
gonna start
interesting
as
to
their
say
slot.
that
Yeah.
because you said 12. New Orleans is picking at 12.
Yeah, right now they
I think
are.
if there's a team that maybe at least in this top 12
Sure.
that didn't need a wide receiver, actually you could consider Vegas too, but I don't think they're going to really trade down in any circumstance
Yeah.
because they're probably looking for quarterback 3.
Yeah, but say that in this world, let's say let's be generous. We'll say 10. We'll say we want to trade up to 10, which is the Chargers right now.
Yep,
Chargers, they probably do want a wide receiver because the Quentin Johnson experiment is very
not going
possibly
well.
failing in front of our eyes.
Yeah.
Keenan Allen's only getting older. Um, they
And you
need
got
weapons around
Herbert.
Herbert. You
Yeah,
have to, yeah. So on the value sheet that has pick 10 at 1,300. So to do that, you definitely need to give up the second this year. You probably need to give up another first, which would put you at around say 1,200. And when you're the one proposing the trade, you always need to overshoot the value because you're obviously not going to propose a trade less when you're going to get less than you're giving. So you need to probably do that, and then you also probably need to trade a future third or maybe this year's third. And then at that point, with a team that needs such a really strong overhaul, you're trading away significant draft capital and just potential assets to get one player when we definitely need like three.
well, it's going to be an interesting draft for New England to say the least. And every
Oh
day that
yeah.
goes by, the anticipation grows to see like what we're going to do to try and solve this mess in the offseason. But regardless, Chandler, we are sadly still here in the 2023 NFL season. We still got some games to go, one of which is against the Chiefs this Sunday. Why don't we dive into our keys, Chandler? You start us off. What are your 3 keys for the Patriots to get the win this Sunday?
All right. So my first key is that we need to make their wide receivers beat us. Um, Kelsey is incredible, of course. He's been a little bit questionable in certain games this season, but if we can contain him, make him look sort of human, make him look like he's not a top three, if not the best tight end of all time. If we can do that, make Rashee Rice, who has been good at points of the season, make Kadarius Toney, who is of course in hot water right now, make MVS, Valdez Scantling. If we can make those kinds of players beat us, that's really the best chance that we have. Second up, 10 touches to Pop. He's finally back. He's our only really dynamic weapon. We haven't really seen Zappy and Pop extensively together through the course of this season. So maybe that'll be fun. Just let's get him the ball. He's a dangerous weapon in open field. Uh, yeah, I'd like to see that. And then the third, we currently don't have a third quarterback on the roster right now with Malik Cunningham having gone. Frankly, I would be stunned if Mac Jones ever gets back in as a Patriot this season and probably ever. So I think that Zappy is probably not going to have a great game, knock on wood, and that we're going to need to bring somebody else in, and it definitely shouldn't be Mac Jones. So sign a third quarterback who has some semblance of potential and see what happens.
I think sadly, Chandler, that's mixing up a recipe for Will Greer to make an appearance as he currently sits on our practice squad.
That's fine.
So
Oh, I can live with that.
calling him up, I mean, I would be fine with it too, honestly. I can't
Yeah,
really see a difference. I mean, would I rather see a guy like Matt Ryan make an appearance? Of course.
sure, that'd
But
be fun.
regardless, that's probably not going to happen. So
Yeah.
Will Greer, I'm accepting. So regardless, speaking of quarterbacks, Chandler, my first key stems at the Chiefs quarterback, Patrick Mahomes, coming off a very controversial game, as we said last week. You got to get in his head. If you can get in Mahomes' head, you may cause him to make some mistakes. Like you said earlier in the episode, Chandler, Chiefs have lost 2 straight. They're supposedly coming back down to earth. Mahomes' stats this year have been not, I guess, comparative to what
Yeah.
he's done in previous years. So, from some would even say, especially me as a fantasy owner of Patrick Mahomes, he's been disappointing this year. So, having a guy like him who has been in somewhat of a slumping year, a lot of controversy these past couple weeks. If you can get in his mind during this game, I wouldn't be surprised if a turnover or two takes place and you
Oh
can
yeah.
get some wins off of Mahomes, as surprising as that is to say. So get in Patrick Mahomes' head. Second off, Ezekiel Elliott has to perform again. Obviously, last week against the Steelers, he had a great game. I benched him in fantasy. I am pissed about that.
Well, and what happened with that?
I won my game anyway, but still the
Yep.
other person won also that I needed to lose, so I missed the playoffs.
Aw.
Great, thanks to Tyreek Hill.
Aw.
Thanks Tyreek Hill.
Womp
Regardless,
womp.
Ezekiel Elliott is literally our only running back right now. I know we have. I'm already forgetting his name, Chandler, but you said we have somebody on the practice.
Michael Hasty,
JaMycal Hasty,
fourth year player out of Baylor, who
great.
I literally have never heard of.
He had 100. He had 192 rushing yards all last season. So I think that's
Mhm.
enough to state that we need Zeke to step up as Ty Montgomery has been cut after last
Oh
week's
yeah,
game. So Zeke, you're in for another big game, buddy. Please get it done. Last but
please
not
God.
least, you talked about the wide receivers making a big impact for the Chiefs. Chandler, they're going to have to do that in order to win because the Chiefs wide receivers are not that great. That's why we need to shut down Travis Kelce. He's their main superstar on offensive weapons side of things. So if you can shut him down, Mahomes doesn't have a true number one target to go to, and things look a lot better for New England. So shut down Travis Kelce, make Taylor Swift sad.
Yep.
Chandler, what is your score prediction?
I think that Taylor Swift is going to get a slightly belated birthday present. It was her birthday, I think, yesterday, maybe 2 days ago. Uh,
Boo.
30-10 victory for the Chiefs.
Well, Chandler, I am also picking a Chiefs victory, not because of the Taylor Swift birthday thing, but just because we are bad. I'm going 28-12. Chiefs get the W,
What a
and I get to
specific
witness
storyline.
out of the 3 Patriots games that I've been to, one that I attended against the Colts last year, we won. One against the Bills on Thursday Night Football that I worked, we lost. That was the game where Mac Jones was yelling, like, throw the effing ball, that thing.
Yeah,
So I was there for that, and I was right by him when he yelled that, actually. This will probably be creating my Patriots record of attendance of 1-2 because the
yeah.
Patriots are probably going to lose this week. So regardless, I hope everybody else can enjoy the game. If you're going, maybe you'll see me there. Out of our 15 viewers
Let's
that are
go. Come
watching this,
on.
maybe
Get
you'll see me
together.
there. If not,
Do
try to
something.
enjoy it from your couch. And obviously, best of luck to the Patriots, but not too much luck because we want you to lose. Alongside Chandler Betts, my name is Nick Antonakis. We'll see you on Monday for a full preview episode of Patriots versus Chiefs. See you next week, everybody.